chapter 3? 2? 3, I think. We'll see how it goes. Okay, it says I've exited host mode, so that's promising. Yeah, this has been a disaster. Well, not disaster. It's just less than awesome. Javier, can you see me now? Sweet. Okay. And if I'm not pronouncing a name correctly, please let me know. But yeah, I think it's Javier. Cool. All right, let's get this thing started since I'm like almost 10 minutes late now, but whatever, we'll roll with it. So, howdy folks. I'm Joshua, and today is February 11th, 2017, and today I am working on my video game Delver. So behind my head here, you can see the website is delvergame.com. Delver is a procedurally generated fantasy dungeon crawler with roguelike trappings and first-person shooting trappings. We're kind of I like to think of us as like an entry, like a gateway roguelike. That it's pretty close to like action games that you feel comfortable, but still has some roguelike elements to kind of get you interested in going down the roguelike rabbit hole. So yeah, so website there. We are on early access on Steam for $7.99. So if you want to support us monetarily, that would be awesome of you. But you don't have to. You can wait for us to come out. We are planning on releasing later this year. Also, if you scroll down the website, we have a humble widget, which will get you a DRM free copy and a Steam key, if that's a thing that you're also into. Um, yeah, I think that's it. So I'm just going to do some more work on this sci-fi dungeon stuff. So hopefully watching me make weird sci-fi art is kind of okay. If there's anything in particular you want me to work on, let me know. My stream is kind of dedicated to getting work done on the game, but also it's to teach folks about game dev and kind of what goes into it, like how we do things. Also, it's also um, a place where folks can learn about modding Delver. Because this upcoming update we're scheduling for March. And so far we seem to be on track, though unfortunately with my work here, it might, like, because the work isn't clearly defined, like it might go over. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully I can, and it might just be for the sci-fi dungeon stuff too, that I just work on it as much as I can, and when it comes time to release, I'll just stop. Because it's not, I mean, I'd like to get as good of an example as I can, but I don't think this should hold up our release. So if you folks are interested, I do have the example mods that I'm working on. They are out on a GitHub repo. So if you go to github.com/joshua_scully/delver-example mods, you can see this is the landing page. It's not too crazy complicated. We have each directory is a mod that you can play with. So we have a character story pack, which adds some items. So this is kind of a reference of how to make items. Particularly, these are all uniques. So if that's interesting to you, you can look at that. This is a basic dungeon section. This is how you can use this as a boilerplate to start a new area. So that's cool. This is the items guns, which is really fun. These add hit scan firearms to Delver. They've been in Delver for a while. This kind of shows you how to use them. So there's some fun stuff in there. And then these two are the language packs. I have both the English and the French language packs. I know Javier had sent me some Spanish translation. So Javier, if you want to, you can go ahead and you can fork this repo and you can submit a pull request if you like, and I'll merge it in if you want it to live out here. That's cool. Also, I'm going to be working on getting together a build for some folks who want to help us test out this new workshop stuff. There were some wrinkles earlier this week with our build infrastructure, but Chad has tracked down the issue, and now that should all be straightened out. So probably sometime later today, I will email out folks who have expressed interest in this stuff. I'll email them out a private build of the workshop stuff. But yeah, so this repo, you can use it as an example. You can also submit pull requests against it. You can also click on the issues tab up here, and you can say new issue, and you say, hey Joshua, I would really like to see how to do X, or if I made a mistake, let me know. And also, like, my art is out here too, like for the guns and stuff. I do have, like, the guns.ping. Like I released this under MIT license, so technically you could use it for whatever. Just kind of here to help promote the Delver mod scene. But like, if you use it for other things, that's cool. Just let me know. I'm always interested in what folks do with my work. Plaxis says, sup. Hey, Plaxis. Thanks for joining chat. Javier says I pronounced it correctly, so that's good. Plaxis says, have I tried running a build on a Raspberry Pi? I am not. I have not. I own a Raspberry Pi, so that would be an interesting experiment. I'm just not sure if does the Java can Raspberry Pis run a Java VM? That's the big question. And also, can they support OpenGL? So I thought, like, for example, like Minecraft Pi is kind of a source port of Minecraft. I've not poked around with it too much, but yeah, it would be cool. But again, we're focused, like, this is a passion project. There's two of us working on it. We work on it in our free time, and we have $0 budget for it. So we try to be, I guess, tactical is a word, but we try to, like, do the work that we think will get the most bang for our buck. So right now we're focusing on getting the PC, Mac, Linux builds. Those are our high priority on Steam. We try to update with a fairly regular cadence right now. It's about every 3 months, and that tends to be an okay rate where we can like not kill ourselves and still put out quality like updates. So we want to get the PC, Mac, Linux builds done and released, and then we will turn our attention towards the Android and iOS. And then again, after that, like, I'm all about getting Delver on as much hardware as I can, but again, that just comes down to just time and resources. So for folks who don't know, I don't have a day job. I'm a stay-at-home father, so I guess that is kind of a day job. And right now, I pull in a little bit of money with Delver, but not enough to actually sustain, like, myself. So, like, I can't pay rent and I can't buy food for my family, which sucks. But I'm fortunate that my partner, she can support us for the time being. I am trying to figure out how to make game development a little bit more sustainable for myself, and Delver is part of that strategy. And I've been doing a lot of talking. I apologize if I'm all chatty. Let me just try to start working in the background, and that might be more interesting to folks. So for folks who don't know how to mod Delver, you can just simply you just create a mods directory next to your Delver binary, and you can drop in mod folders, and Delver will load it up. The Steam Workshop support I'm talking about is just us making the mod infrastructure work with the Steam Workshop, so it's just a one-click experience, which we think will be awesome. Let me flip over to the correct branch and sync this stuff up. I'm also excited because I think last stream I was working on the sci-fi dungeon stuff. There were some issues with I'd created slime, which is really cool, but there were some issues with the water trim, and I think Chad has ironed that out. So let's test that. Plaxis says, I tried, but it threw a bunch of exceptions. Wasn't sure if it failed to get a library or not, or the dependencies beyond the Pi. I totally get the main release is cool. No worries. Like, no offense taken. Like, I am trying my best to explain to folks where we're coming from and kind of our mindset. Like, I'm trying to kind of, I guess demystify might be a word. Like, I'm just trying to let folks know, like, what's on our minds, and like what our priorities are. I think Chad even fixed the editor stuff too. Nope. I thought he did. I thought he did. He said he did. Let's look at Delver. Oh, so remembers the last selected atlas. So, but it doesn't pull the atlas from the selected texture. So if I go select the correct atlas here, let's make this slime. So it does remember. That's cool. Okay. Um, let me see. Okay. Maybe get the lower wall. There we go. I'm just trying to make a cool slime area back here is all I'm trying to do. Um, so what this is kind of illustrating is with the slime, you could actually define um, what tiles do. So okay, let me fire up. I've been using VS Code just because it's a simple editor that allows you to view just like a project that's basically a directory structure. And also I will give I guess in the thoughts of being clear, I used to work for Visual Studio, and I have collaborated with the Visual Studio Code team in a light way in the past. Just so if you think that color is my choices, that's out there. I think it is just a simple little editor, but I also use, as you can see down here, I use Sublime Text, and I use IntelliJ, so I use a whole variety of different tools to try to get my job done. Cool, yeah. Plaxa says, "Wow, the subtractive level editing sculpting tools is jelly. It is cool. Jealous." Yeah, no, it's um, again, we have like our stuff is pretty lo-fi, but like the ability just to like quickly like just block out stuff is super cool. It's so fast. Like that is the nice thing about maybe having a little bit more simple level structure is that man, I can just slam out levels. Like I can get a pretty decent looking level done within just like a couple hours. And that's at a pretty high level of quality. Um, cool. So hit play, and the nice things too is if you look at this, so if you look at, so this is the directory for this mod, and we have a thing called a data folder, which holds just a lot of data definitions. And one of these is called tiles, and this defines tile data. And if you look here, 16 should be the index. Let me pull open file. So we look at these example tiles. Assuming this one is the 0 index, that's 0, 8, 12, 0, 8, 12, 16, 20. Did I give that up? I guess I can't count today. Oh, 0, 4, 8, 12, 16, yeah, duh. Um, so this is the slime, and the definition says it's texture 16, and we have this flow texture, an edge texture. The flow texture basically says if I turn it to a waterfall, like if I just select this part here and pull it up, the flow texture is this thing we get here on the sides. So as you can see, it's just I just made it the tile next to it. And then we have these edge textures, which kind of make just kind of dress up the water a little bit, or the liquid a little bit. So um, you have a flow texture that is used when it butts up against non-liquid geometry, and then you have one when it's used like when it doesn't. So like these kind of simulate like I guess we use it mostly in the lava to simulate like fast-moving lava and slow-moving lava. Um, yeah. See, I could do something like let me undo that, but I could like a trick I commonly do. Let me turn back on paint adjacent so I can get those in there. Is I will do something like just to simulate like pull this up and then I'll lower this down. So now we get this cool like this is actually coming from somewhere, and I think it's important, at least in my brain, to kind of rationalize a little bit why things are the way they are. Like they just like things just don't magically appear. Like these are coming from like something. So there's this little thing that's emitting slime. So that's cool. And it looks like Chad did fix that stuff out. I'll probably tweak the texture a little bit, but for now it works well enough. Um, Copy. Cool. So yeah, I think I'm gonna make a mesh that I can put over this stuff. Um, I think that'll be cool. So let's do that. I guess that's another thing I need to consider is currently, and it bothers me a little bit, but I'm not sure if it really affects the visuals that much, is, for example, this mesh is at 2 times the detail as the environment that surrounds it, so the pixel density doesn't match. And I still need to figure out if that's okay, or if it's not okay. Because if it's okay, then I'll make all the other meshes match, but if it's not okay, I need to fix this one. Um, um, yeah. So Flaxus says, I'm making a game kind of similar to yours, honestly. Could probably afford to could take away some design choices, making a 4-player co-op sci-fi roguelite about scrounging ship graveyards to keep your ship alive. Procedural generated ships and stations. Cool, yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, let me think. There are lots of folks making cool procedural first-person stuff, and I'm all about like the sharing of like knowledge and techniques. So let me think. Comes to mind. So there's a developer named Johan who's making a cool game called Outworld. I know the folks making the Strafe game. That's a pretty cool procedural first-person shooter. What else? I um, like Tyreek is making a game called Catacomb Kids, which is super cool. Yeah, so like I try to like I guess I'm fortunate enough to know talented folks who are also making games in a similar vein. Um, and yeah, I think it really helps that we can share knowledge. So, so again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. So I guess maybe I didn't state, but on this project, my role is the art guy. So um, all the stuff like the 2D, 3D art, level design is all mostly owned by me. Um, there is some stuff in there by the other developer, Chad. He's done some work too. Um, so our roles kind of broken out into art and programming roughly. Um, and that seems to work for us pretty well. Let me put this, I guess I can place it right there. Again, I'm just playing around with this kit I'm slowly building out. Um, and I guess maybe it would have been like for some folks who can plan the stuff up front and get it like nailed down when they start is really cool. But unfortunately, that's that's not me. I've kind of I kind of have an iterative approach where I go back and forth between making a few like textures, and then I make a few models to support that texture, and I kind of bounce back and forth. But yeah, so that's cool. Um, yeah, slime. Yeah, I think green slime is a good staple of science fiction stuff. But I was talking about making meshes and trying to see if let's just I guess I can live with the meshes being twice the pixel density. Um, I guess I'll just make sure that all the meshes have that ratio, and I'll just live with it. Okay. So let me. Okay. So trying to think. I want to make something that looks like the floor tiling here, but is maybe I want to make it see-through so you can actually see this because I want to basically like have these catwalks above the slime, and I want you to be able to see through. So it's going to have some alpha on it, and I'm thinking I probably maybe make them half a tile high. I want them to have some weight to them. Um, let's just play around and see what we come up with. Not gonna stress. Let's have a fun time. And also, I guess I should also like this is a greeble thing that maybe would be cool just to have more greebles. Um, let me actually just export this real quick and slap it in the engine and see what it looks like. I guess also these have uh, their own textures. In Delver, we've kind of gone with most meshes have a single texture. Or that all meshes have a common texture, and this wasn't built that way, so I may have to go back through and fix that. Um, but we'll see. And maybe Chad can say one way or another. Like I think it's better if all the meshes have the same texture. I'm not sure if we just smash them together in memory or not, but neither here nor there. So let's go File, Export, Wavefront OBJ, because that's the format that Delver uses. Selection only is important. I don't care about writing out materials, but I do care about triangulating the faces. Because if you don't tick that, OBJ will write out quads, and Delver expects triangles. Um, just FYI. And then these need to be dropped into, let's go example. So yeah, this should be right. So this is, I will call it greeble underscore 0 dot obj. Export. And actually, let me real quick. I need to fix. I'm going to recenter the origin here. Cursor is selected. So that it sits like this, so it's easier to make it flush against the wall. Um, the side effect of that is that Delver expects the origin to be at the center bottom of a volume. So when we create a collision box for this, it will extend behind it a little bit, but that's probably okay. Let's go image, save as image. Let's go and see if I copy this out here too. And I need to put it into textures example. And we'll call this greeble underscore 0 dot ping. It would help if I spelled greeble correctly. Let's save that. Cool. And real quick, let's go ahead and copy those assets over. So I think I just need meshes and textures. Just copy those here. Replace. And then I should be able just to add an entity. Let's say example meshes. This is the entity group that I've created for this example. So we'll say we'll add a railing, and what we can do is just change the name from railing straight to greeble underscore 0, and then the texture should just be the same thing, so greeble underscore 0. And let's try to see if we can clean up the collision a little bit. Okay. Let me fly in closer so I can kind of examine it. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think this needs to be like that, and then this needs to be 1. There we go. Cool. So that should be good there, except for I said there were going to be half scale, so I need to fix that here. And I need to have all these values. Oh man. we go. And then if I slap this on the wall, what does it look like? Oh, I duplicated it. Oh, now let me just slap it. Ah. Holding Control Shift allows me to snap to the grid. And then I can kind of position this where I think it looks interesting. I might have to just kind of live with being off the grid a little bit and then play. Yeah, that's nice. I think these add little touches here and there. And yeah, maybe it's worthwhile to actually build a couple of these greebles and have a prefab that just chooses from them, which could be nice. Plaxis says, "How do you handle collisions? Is this more cell-based, or do you actually sweep over the mesh?" Um, it is simple axis-aligned bounding boxes. No real magic there. Um, just trying to keep things simple. Yeah, I think the greebles could be a fun diversion. They're pretty small. Don't have to think about it too much. Okay. Hmm. So I think what I want to do is I want to have um, let's say 4 different kinds of greebles and 2 different kinds of textures that the engine could swap out. Um, and these greebles are going to just be really kind of simple flat greebles. Um, so let me think about some of these considerations. So this is a 32 by 32 texture space. Um, if they're all going to be roughly the same size, I could make it 64 by 64 and everything should pack in there okay. So let's do that. So let's open up Photoshop. Let's look at our textures here. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Photoshop, I wanted to open this up in a new, there we go. Let's go image canvas size, and then let's just double it to 64 by 64. And go File, Save As. And we'll call this greebles.ping, for lack of a better word. And what we can do here is go to edit mode. We can say image, replace image with group. Well, we need to navigate to our mod because I'm actually working in the mod directory directly. Textures, example, greebles, replace. And then we have to fix the UV coordinates, which should be simple enough. We can just go into Blender here and change our cursor location to be the top left corner. And we can change, so already our pivot is the cursor, and we can scale by 0.5, and that should fix our UVs. Cool. Let me think. What else could be cool? Because this is 1, 2, 3. This is 8 by, looks like 14. Maybe that was just because of the texture constraints too. But it would be nice to have some variety. That is, also like shape-wise as well. So real quick, we've made it more square. So so if I drop this down to be 12, so maybe 12 by 12, make it a square. So that's 6 on that side, 6 on that side, so 12 across. And so I have my grid set up to be increments of 16, so that's kind of how I'm gauging this. So that is an okay shape, I think. Let me unwrap this. So let's go. Let's select everything, and then let's get x32. Slide over there. I want to get this. Get x or y minus 4. And then I'm going to say get x. It was 8, so I need to move that 4 over. Okay, and that should actually be that should be okay. Let me go ahead and pack this in nice and tight though. Try to make use of as much room as I can. Get x minus 6. Get x minus 2. Get y 4. Sweet. Okay. So we kind of smooshed that up there. And let me. Why don't let's just do some texture painting? That could be cool, right? Folks who don't know, you can do texture painting, pixel perfect texture painting in Blender. It's a thing that is helpful sometimes when you are doing tiling textures. Yeah, there we go. Texture paint. And then there's a couple things you have to do to make sure that this just plays nice. So, oh yeah, first you need a material. Let's just go ahead and do that real quick. Let's go back to our default view, and let's center the view, and then let's go back to object mode. We need to add a material. Since there's no materials in the scene, a texture paint needs a material. So let's just add a new one. Let's make it shadeless. Let's crank the diffuse to just full white. Otherwise you get some weird texture picking artifacts, so keep that in mind. Over here on material. So we have the material, and this is the image. So we need to have a new image and sorry, a new texture. The texture uses an image, and the image is this. Is that right? The power box. That should be the correct one. Yeah, the greebles.ping. We'll rename this to greebles.ping so we know what we're working with here. Cool. Again, I can call this greeble texture. And this is greeble material. Just to try to keep things straight in my brain. Over here, I think I need to flip over GLSO. Multi-texture. Material. Texture. Try to figure out why this isn't showing. That should be good. Yep, that looks all gravy to me. Rendered material. So this material, weird, is not picking up the, what have I done? For some reason it's not actually picking up this. UV, that's good. That's good. Huh. I done? Real quick, let me pop open a new Blender window and let's take a look at the Delver props because I have this set up correctly. So let's go look at I think the temple scene, no, the cold scene. And I think I have the materials set up here correctly. This is GLSL. Material is cool textures and is shadeless. Over here, image and movie. Okay, let's kind of just compare the two and see what's different. Yeah, sorry I'm troubleshooting Blender here, folks. Sometimes it is a mystery to me as well. I know just enough to get stuff working. So let me just kind of just look at the properties of each and just kind of compare. So here it's not showing up, which makes me, so shading is transparency, let's tick that. Yeah, these, I don't care about those per se. Okay, that looks fine, that looks fine. But here it's showing up and the other one it's not. Let's look at our material definition. Okay, things are looking identical so far. And weird. Super weird. Yeah, okay, so that, yeah, for some odd reason, that's, put the shading preview to renticle. Yeah, the question is why is this, so let me just add another material here, just, you know, for fun. So new, and let's just say this is the railing. Does that show up? That shows up. Um, weird. So let me remove that. Let me add a new, and this is the greebles. Is it? I think it has something to do with this being. Yeah, Blender is being super weird. Let's image, open image, greebles.ping, open, tab. Okay, that's, so that, okay, oh yeah, duh, Joshua, it's because I have it UV mapped to the white. Yep, so that makes sense, yep. Sorry folks, had a definite brain fart there. Let's just go back to UV editing. Please bear with me, thank you. So what we want to do is a few things. So we want to go over here and just apply that same material to that. So that pops up, and then now we can go into texture paint mode and just start painting. And then here, when you texture paint, let me see if it's hooked up correctly or not. Oh, it's not even the right item, so let me go to object mode, just like that, and then go to texture paint mode. And you see what's happening is we are getting aliasing, which is not what we want, because we want pixel perfect textures. So underneath the curve, just go ahead and flatten that out, and that should give us nice pixel perfect textures. What else? I also tend to turn off pressure. I just want just straight up, fully opaque. Also, too, another option you may want to play around with is this this bleed amount. I'll set it to 0 for the time being, because the way our UVs are set up, if we bleed, we might actually bleed onto this, so we have to be kind of careful about that. Okay, so now what we can do is we can just start painting. And let's call this, let's make a new version of this brush. We'll call this pixel brush. Okay. And let's just go ahead and fill this sucker in. Oh, again, let's turn that off, and then pull the opacity all the way up. Okay, I want that color, so let's do that. I'm just going to kind of quickly block in stuff. So I think for the bottom I use this. So a quick little trick here is you can hit Tab, go into Edit mode, select the face that you want to affect, go back into Texture Paint mode by hitting Tab, and go down here to this little button and hit Mask, and that will only allow us to paint to this face. So I can just quickly lock that in, and I can turn that off. Cool. And I'm just gonna kind of follow the style I already have set up for this. Let me turn off the grid floor because it's kind of getting in my way a little bit. Okay, let's sample that color. I think I used it. Actually, another thing you can do too here is under stroke, you can change the method to, say, line. And then real quickly I can like click and drag and drop these little lines across the model. It's handy, but you got to be careful. Okay. What else? I think I've been putting the highlight on this on the. Maybe I should put it on the front side. I think that might be more consistent with some of the stuff I have been doing. Let me just do that. Okay, let's change my back to, I think space is correct. That's just the default kind of behavior that you'd expect from brushes. Okay, I don't need that guy on the side here. Just going to add these little, I guess they're little tech marks that kind of I use to indicate like bolts or some other sort of fastener that holds this thing together. I like to kind of imagine that there's a little bit of realism to the craziness that I'm doing. So looks like I messed up my pixel grid here. It looks like it's maybe it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How big is this here? So if I say get y minus 12, ooh, that's not right. Oh yeah, because I'm in my. What have I done here? Get y minus 24. Okay, so let me just try to see if I can straighten this out real quick. Now, let me turn my snaps are to uh, vertex, which is good. So let me get Y, just snap them down here, and then get Y 12, get Y 24. Okay, interesting. I think I somehow goofed up my proportions. Maybe it's just during the unwrap I messed things up. Get X minus 24. That is also goofed up too. I think it's just the doubling of the pixels is what's throwing me. Okay. Let's see if that's any better. Okay, so let's go back to texture paint mode. That's real quick. Let's just fix all this stuff up. Okay. Let's turn on masking real quick, and let's repaint the bottom. Turn that back off. That's weird. It shouldn't be doing that. Okay. Just doing some happy little pixel art now. I think this, yeah, this has fixed our pixel ratio issue. There we go. Now things look, they look better. The pixels now look square, which is important. In fact, I can do some little designs here on the side, since I have the space to do so. And maybe just throw some little spots on top, even in the front corners here. Nice. And this is going to be some sort of panel, right? Be nice for it to have some sort of function, maybe? I don't know. These are just little things I'm going to snap to the wall to. I mean, I do have vents, so I can keep going with the vent theme. Let me look also at. Let me go back to object mode, and I think I have the texture sheet. No, I don't have the texture sheet handy. Let me just pop that in. Shift A, mesh plane. Let's align this to view. Go to edit mode. Let's scale it by 0.5 on the X. And I need to scale it up by 4, I think. Yeah. And then let's go ahead and scoot this over on the X, maybe 5 units. And then let's go ahead and apply our. I'm going to use this as a reference and also as like a palette to pull in colors from the texture sheet. So let's go ahead and let's just add the greeble material. And then let's duplicate that, and let's call this the texture material. And technically it's the tiling texture material. And then here I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to add a new texture called tiling texture. It's going to be a, I'm going to open up the image. It should be example textures, example tiles. Okay. Also, let me just roll. Looks like it didn't generate UV, so let's go edit mode A, U, project from view, or just say unread. And then if I pull this over to example tiles, we'll see what it's doing. And then I will just grab this and say get Y. Is that 128? There we go, but that's not quite right. I need to rotate it, so let me snap the cursor there, rotate this by 90, I move it up 206, then scoot this over minus 128, and then pull this down minus 128, and it's upside down, so let me turn the pivot just to the center of that, so scale Y minus 1 and scale X minus 1. There we go. Now things should be correct. Cool. And now we can use this as a nice way to do some picking for our greeble stuff here. And actually I might want to just kind of position this back behind them, so it's just a little bit easier, like when I go to perspective view, just to kind of see it behind and pick from. Because I also have this pink color too I use to indicate stuff. Also, it might be interesting to have a light too. It could be interesting, because I mean, we could set it up so the prefab has a light attached to it. So that might be a fun thing to do. Yeah, let me try that. Let me try just plopping down a light greeble here. So let me go back to our greebles.ping, go into texture paint mode, and then I'm gonna pick this. I'll grab this dark color here. And then let me see if I can just paint this dark color in. Let's see, all right. And then, let me see. All right, let me try to see if I can just block in with this dark gray, like what the lights kind of ought to look like. Maybe just get the shape of them in there. So I'm gonna these are also probably gonna be tube lights as well. So that's 3. I think that's an okay space, I guess. Let me just put something like this down the middle, and then grab my light color. Actually, let me do this because I want to kind of make them look similar, like just to make them agree. Hey, Hawaii Beach. Thank you for stopping by my stream. How are things? And I have these little highlights here. Maybe a little. Are they not the same size? That's interesting. Did I goof that up? This looks like to be 6 across. This looks to be 5 across. So let me just fix that real quick, because that will bother me. How is everybody doing today? I'm kind of in a pretty sedate mood. I'm just kind of hanging out. Oh, chill out, Hawaii Beach. Today is just gonna be a nice little pixel art stream. Um, I guess if I'm being honest, like for the workshop support stuff, there isn't really a lot of programming stuff on my end to do. I'll probably do some more JSON stuff, but I mean JSON's just uh, it's not really programming per se. Sutin22, I'm sorry to hear that you're blocked. A lot of times, just to get through that, just start throwing stuff down on your, just start throwing stuff down, right? Don't worry too much about it. Just start. The blank page is a terrible thing to kind of wrestle with. Okay, let me see. So I might be able to do. Then let me go back to my brush settings, change it to line, and just kind of draw some lines out here. There we go. Maybe one like that. No, that's not a bad suggestion, Hawaii Beach. I certainly have my modding, my example mods repo out there, so that might not be a bad place for that to live. Cool. So there is a light greeble. All right. Let's go back to object mode. Let's hide that. So Sudan is saying that they can't come up with any ideas for games. Um, but I couldn't make games. Now I can't create them. So I think he might be, or they might be trying to say something along the lines of, I experienced this when I was younger, um, I had all kinds of crazy ideas for games, but I was like technically not capable of actually executing on my ideas. And now that I'm older, like technical chops have certainly improved, and I can probably execute on any idea I have. It's just it feels like my ideas aren't as plentiful as they once were. Like something that may help is um, like not to toot my own horn, but like do a mod, right? Don't worry about coming up with something from scratch. Sometimes having direction helps, like having an already established art style, having an already established world, and just making content inside of that can kind of help get the stuff going, like the creative juices flowing again. Yeah, so Suitin 22 is agreeing with me. Yeah, I've definitely felt this myself. Um, and it certainly helps that I've been working on Delver long enough that I have a big bulk of stuff to reference and pull from. Oh, the good, yeah. So what else? Is it me or is this guy now screwed up? I think it is. I think the pixels are messed up on this one. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it should be 28 tall. So get y, let's just snap that to there and then say get y minus 28. There we go. So it was not my brain playing tricks on me. So let's fix that up. Texture paint. Again, just trying to figure out ways to um, like things like the yeah. Kirby's bringing up a good example too is thinking of a game that you um, the last game you played that you thought could have been executed more uh, uh, could have been executed better. That's kind of hard though, right? Like um, I think everybody has things uh, they like about a game and the things they would change about a game. So I think we all kind of feel that. Um, I think maybe if there's certain things that you're interested in, maybe just explore a single mechanic. Try see if you can build a game around like um, I don't know, maybe something start with something small. Because I think Delver started off as a hobby project. We weren't really intending it to be a commercial product. Actually, I think that's incorrect. I think that should be lighter, so let's leave that like that. It's not terribly interesting though. We need to bump this up one, just give us a little bit of room to breathe. That's all right. I mean, however you get out of your creative rut is kind of is up to you, you know. Like you just kind of got to break out of the mentality of like waiting for like something to happen and just kind of start chipping away at getting stuff done. Oh, object mode. So I still have a little bit of room down here to do stuff with. Um, so I think for this, like I could. Do I have enough room to put another one of these just directly below it? Yeah, I do. Um, so I could make another one of these, but that's it's not particularly interesting. The idea is try to have some variation on the shape. Um, what might be interesting is having um, like I want to do an alternate texture for this one, so maybe having a smaller one that could alternatively snap onto the front of this might be cool. And then we can do some sort of like conditional nesting of these things, which I think would be fun. Um, so let's do that. So let's go to side view and duplicate this and kind of bump it up, and then front view. Just going to try to position this such that it will snap together nicely. Um, yeah. So this, I'm going to try to design this piece such that it can be used on its own, but also we can slap it on the front of one of these to make it more interesting. Cool. So even I could reuse this light one. So I can define my prefab such that either it will spawn a light or it will spawn this thing in the front, which might not necessarily be a light. But again, it probably could give us good variety. So let's go ahead and fix the UV map on this guy. So it is, let me see, it needs to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And so it's 8 by 8, so 16 by 16 texture is what this needs. So I just think it's just the same width, yeah. So let's grab Y, snap it down there, and then get Y16. And then the same thing on the X. So snap that there, get X16. Cool. So then now the pixel ratios are consistent, and now we can kind of make this live in its own little space. That'll probably be okay. Let's just snap these to the grid. Nice. And yeah, let's just do some more pixel art. Okay. Okay. So I think I'll probably have maybe two or maybe even three texture variations for this so I can throw in this stuff. Um, uh, just to try to get more mileage out of these greebles. So I'll make these kind of the gray set. Um, and I guess it's also important to keep in mind that this greeble should be able to stand on its own, but it also should be able to be used in concert with this piece. Varntech says, "Have I ever used 3ds Max before?" So yeah, so I have used 3ds Max before, um, but to be honest with you, it was probably uh, almost oh man, almost 20 years ago, and it was a pirated copy. Um, since then, I am completely legit on all my software. So I either own licenses, I own licenses for all of the software, or I use freely available software. Um, and you know, I'm pretty agnostic when it comes to tools. Like I think tools can be useful in helping you perform certain tasks, but I don't think um, tools don't necessarily make the artist. You know, um, they can be helpful, but they're, at the end of the day, it's up to the person using them to actually make something good with them. But on a stranger note, this is kind of weird, but one of the things I do to relax is I watch YouTube videos of people 3D modeling, and for some odd reason that just like totally just like it just lets my brain relax. I don't know why. It's like what you know. I don't know. But when I do that, I watch people model in all sorts of different packages. Um, 'Cause interesting which concepts have like direct correlations and which modeling concepts don't. Um, so Vartex says they have 53 hours in Blender and it's still hard, but student version of 3ds Max. Yeah, so again, that's the thing. Like if like the student version is, you know, the like it is to be used while you are a student, and then as soon as you start to do anything uh, with any sort of professional capacity, you're supposed to like you know convert your license to an appropriate one. Um, let me see. Yeah, I have. So I've been using Blender for years and years now, and to be honest, like I probably like I don't know, like I uninstalled Blender like maybe a dozen times before it actually stuck. Like it took even the older versions, like before the modern Blender, like I think the old like 2.3, 2.4 versions were so like just bizarre, and like you really had to work to understand them. Um, it's gotten better, but you know, like a 3D modeling package is difficult just because there are a lot of concepts you need to have down, and in some ways Blender doesn't make it any easier because they do like they invent like UI conventions that don't exist anywhere else. And when you start doing stuff like that is when you start getting into like um, you start making life hard for yourself. And for some odd reason I missed a little. Go over here, fix this real quick. Texture paint and fix this up down here. VUK78 says, "For what game are you making this? Because I came here for Delve. Are you the developer of Delver? Will there be any updates soon for Delver? Please add co-op, please, please." So hey, yeah, this is the Delver development stream. I guess I've been on wow an hour and 20 minutes now. So let me kind of just take a quick break and say, hey, I am Joshua. I am one of the developers on the game Delver. Um, there are two of us. We work on this game in our free time, as we have free time. And right now I am making a sci-fi dungeon for Delver. So you can see my work over here. This is the Delver level editor. Um, what this is well, one, an excuse for me to make science fiction art because Delver is fantasy and I haven't had a chance to do that in a while. But also, it shows off what can be done with modding. The next update we are scheduling is for we're trying to have the update land sometime in March, and it's going to be focusing heavily on the Steam Workshop and mod support. So by making this, this will be a new dungeon area you can plug into Delver. It will not be part of the the Delver main proper story. It'll be something fun that you can throw in just to kind of horse around. It also serves as an example for other modders um, to show you what you can do. Vartex says the Delver editor crashes when I save the map. Um, my question to you is, are you on Windows? Because if the answer is yes, the Delver editor is not crashing. What happens is on Windows, when you go File Save or File Open, it will pop up a modal dialog, the native file picker dialog. And in Windows, for some odd reason, it always pops up behind the main app. You have to Alt-Tab to that for it to work. Otherwise, it will appear to be not responding. If you notice in this latest version of the editor, we ended up just writing our own file picker, which, I mean, it's not as fancy as a native picker, but we can guarantee that it works on all the platforms that we support. So if you're on Windows and using the current version of the editor that's out on Steam, when you go a file open or file save, it will appear to not be responding, but if you Alt-Tab, you can get to the dialog. And this will be addressed in the next update coming out. Vortex says, I haven't made any big maps. So, like by definition, like Delver assumes that if you're building rooms for a dungeon, it assumes that all the dungeon rooms are 17 by 17, and then we slam together a grid of I think like either 5 by 5 or 6 by 6 rooms. So doing some really fast and loose math. So if I do 17, say times 16, so I think we don't really do anything larger than say 256 by 256 or 272 by 272 rooms. So when you start getting when you create like a file new, you can arbitrarily make them large. But I know if you make them too large, the editor just simply can't handle rendering all the tiles. So that is something to keep in mind. Again, we built this tool for us making the game, and that's kind of our core use case, and we've made it as good as we need it to be to make the game. And if you make really huge rooms, like the editor kind of chokes on certain things. With the mod support stuff we're working on this update, we're trying to make this as good as we can, but we realize there are limitations. Plaxis says, "What's behind the big door in the Forbidden Zone?" That's a secret. And Evram says, "Hey, Joshua. Hey." Evram says, "Are you planning on including chunks or such in the editor?" What do you mean, including chunks? And hey, I need to take a real quick break. I'll be back in just a short moment. Let me do that. I don't really need to have just a batch file that launches this or fix this little pre-stream thing. So let's say 1329 on 2/11/2017. And I'm back. Just had to grab a quick bite because for some reason before my streams I always forget to eat, and I tend to get a little hungry. So let's look at the chat. See what they're talking about. So Buck BUK78 says thanks. Delver's an amazing game. Thank you both. And I think if you make it co-op, it will boost the game's population. Running down the dungeon would be amazing. That would be cool. Unfortunately, Delver is not going to be multiplayer. It is a single-player game only. Um, this is a consequence of us writing our own engine, and all the design decisions we've made up to this point are around a single-player game. We've already spent like 4 years on this project. Again, because we don't do this full time, we work on this as we have time in our free time, and life always interrupts. It would probably take another 3 or 4 years for us to add multiplayer to it. So I would love to do a multiplayer procedural dungeon crawl in the future, but that's probably not this project. In fact, it isn't this project. But again, I appreciate the kind words. Warren, Texas, yeah. So I basically my little pre-stream and my little uh, away from keyboard thing is just a hacked up version of the Delver engine that just shows a static scene. So Ephraim says, splitting up the level into chunks. Oh, um, I don't think so. I don't here. I think what Ephraim is talking about is some sort of occlusion such that we don't draw the whole level. Because in fact, I think we do have. Okay. We do a little of that. What's interesting here? Let me show you something kind of cool. So let's close this. Let's look at. I was playing around with this the other day, and I think it'll be fun to share. So what we can do is we can go to our assets directory under data, and then I'm going to find not data, sorry, generator. Under generator, under undead, the ruins area. Now I look at, I think section.dat is what I want. And what I'm going to do, I'm trying to think of the properties. So fog start, fog end. So I'm just going to put these way up high, like 1,000 and 1,000. So the fog shouldn't really shouldn't be an issue. And I think I want a property. Let me look at level. I think there is. We look at properties. I think view distance. So again, going back to our section definition, we'll add that property in as 1,000. And now we can run Delver. Cool. So what I want to do is erase that. Let's play. Let me just pop down. Keep going. So I hacked up the ruins area so we don't get any sort of fog, or and I extended the draw distance all the way out. And this actually kind of talks to Plaxis as he wants his lighting shaders. Our lighting shaders really aren't super sophisticated. It's a combination of lighting and fog, I think is what gives us our look. But now what you can do is you can hit K on the debug menu. We now have added like no clip. So I can just no clip my way through the level. And I can just kind of zoom out. And this is actually what everyone was talking about, is there is no occlusion at all. Like I can see the whole dungeon at a go if my perspective is correct, which is kind of cool. I think it's really interesting viewing the dungeon like this. Let me hide this. You can see there's a trap doing its thing there, and you can see the my hacky version of actually controlling the trap uses a mover out in space. Yeah, this is, I don't know. I found this really interesting just to kind of view the dungeon from this perspective, and you can kind of see how things all piece together. Let me see. Warntech says, "Will there be a simple mod maker program that would that would the workshop so awesome? A simple program where you can choose between melee weapon." Um, right now, no. Right now, if you want, you can go again. Go to my GitHub repo. I have an example mod repo, and it's github.com/Joshua Skelly/Delaware example mods. That's the URL. I will go ahead and paste it in chat so you can find it. And if you drill it, so the character story pack actually has how you make items. So I have a image, and these are the items for this mod. And then if you go to data items.dat, this just has how items are defined. So if you look at this here, this is just a sword definition, and these are the properties that are interesting to a sword. And you can kind of look at how we've done it that way. Another thing you can do is so if we look at the gun mod, for example, let me install that real quick. So let's go back to mods, example mods. Let me flip over my. Just go back to the master branch of this. Then I can copy out guns. Copy it. Then I can just put myself back on the sci-fi dungeon branch, and then you can launch the editor. So file, open, mods, guns, levels, shooting range. And what I've done here is, if we look at file, open folder, Delaware Engineer, assets, mods. So the guns, if you look at if you look at the data definitions, I've defined items. So items.dat controls stuff that shows up in the game. And entities.dat, these things show up in the right-click menu in the editor, and they also can be used as a prefab definition. So you see I've added both, for example, the shotgun is both an item that can drop as a loot drop, and it's also an item you can place. So you can go to the editor, and you can right-click and place entity, example guns, shotgun, and that will drop a shotgun in here. And then here in the editor, you can actually play with all the properties that we expose to the editor. So, you know, like, you can hit play, and you can grab the shotgun, and, you know, like, you can shoot these bats because they're kind of obnoxious. Sorry, I accidentally scrolled. And that's cool. But if you really want, like, you can you can say, I want a fully auto shotgun, right? And then now, you know, you can pick these all up, and then you can just, you know, that is a way of doing it too. Is using the editor to kind of play with item properties. It depends. Like I would put this in your own entities.dat so you can play around with the ones you're defining. If you go to entity basic, I think we do have like a basic sword you can just drop in here, and then from here you can select, like, you know, the texture you want. So item. So this is going to be, oh, let's just say a normal sword. Actually, I think I've actually updated these, so there should be a melee. There we go. So we have sword, and then the broken text needs to come out of melee as well. And then you can set all the properties here, you know, like base damage, random damage, sounds, knockback, reach, speed, all that good stuff you can play with, you know, and I guess you probably should give it a name, right? So there we go. You have my sword in here now, which does, I think, like 2 to 4 damage. Yeah, which isn't a lot. Um, let me see. You can play around with that. It has the you can play around with durability and all that good jazz. We try to expose a lot of these properties that make sense editing in the editor. There are more properties you can add through JSON, but they get a little bit more complicated. Like for example, like if I place an entity basic, let me think, clutter candle. Like if you notice a candle, it has a light and a particle emitter attached to it. But we don't expose those in the editor because it's just a lot of it's just too much to edit here. But this is a nice quick way of getting and playing around with items. And once you're comfortable with that, you can dive deeper into actually editing JSON. Another thing too is I've changed the editor so that now it will output like nice JSON, and with the nice JSON you can validate it and find any errors you've made, which hopefully should make mod making a little bit easier. So let me see. Domo McRomo says, "Hey Joshua, hey, thank you for stopping by the stream. I appreciate it. Hopefully you're having a good Saturday." Yep, no worries about spelling stuff. I don't have a very good number of how many people have bought Delver. I mean, you can always look at Steam Spy. And Bartek says, "Am I rich yet?" No, I am not rich. Again, I told you, I spoke about this on the stream before, but like, I do not make enough money to live off of this, so I am trying to figure out how to become a sustainable developer. So I still love doing Delver, and I will work on it until it is done. And then, depending upon how well it sells, depends upon what projects I pull on in the future. So Vuck78 says, "I don't have time." So I'm a stay-at-home father. I spend, oh man, most days from 6 in the morning to 8 at night with my son, taking care of him. And then sometime in between that, I work on this, typically on the weekends, sometimes in the evenings. Let me see. Delver makes a lot of money. Like, being an independent game developer, like, it's tough, right? You like making a lot of money, like, it is super. I don't know. I would say it doesn't make a lot of money. Like, it's not. It's hard to say. Like, it doesn't pay a salary for 2 people. It doesn't pay a salary for 1 person, really. It's just tough. And technically, we do have a company. Chad is the owner of that. It's called Priority Interrupt. Varntech says, "Any ideas of a mana bar?" Stabs of nope. So yeah, no mana bar. We're trying to keep this pretty lightweight. Try to keep it simple. We played around with a little bit of how wands work, but yeah, we like the fact that they're disposable. Again, that's why we added durability too. Is we're trying to always have you make interesting choices, and if you could pick up one item and use it for the entire game, that's not interesting. Hey, I think that's Jordan, right? Siak Blue. How the heck are you? Yeah, I hope it does well. But the reality of the situation is, like we've started this product, or this project. The project has become a product. We will finish the product. We will finish the project and make it the best thing that we can. And if it sells, awesome. If not, then I'll do something else. That's just the reality of the situation. Like, I like to have food and I like to have a warm house. And like to have a house. So these are all things I need to work towards. Okay, so Kirby says, "I noticed I'd consider wands to be disposable backups instead of a viable build." Yeah, that's something we've kind of struggled with, and we're trying to work on how to make playing a mage a little bit more of a viable thing. Martek says, "What is the one achievement that we can unlock? Test achievement?" Yeah, so again, we are working on Steam Workshop support, which means also adding better Steam support in general. So yeah, we have expect to see some weirdness around some of the Steam achievements and stuff like that, just because we're figuring out how it works, and you know, uh, like don't worry too much about them until we actually make an announcement about it. Um, yeah, actually, how about I'll just play a little bit of Delver. Like we've talked about a lot of Delver, but we actually haven't played any. Let me real quick. Let me move these out. Actually, let me cancel. Let me delete the guns because right now these will actually. Let me just move that there, and I'll move it back in. So let me just play some Delver, and I'll talk through Delver because it has been almost 2 hours. So FC Ballhog says using LWJGL. We use the libgdx framework, which has which is built on top of LWJGL. So yeah, so this is Delver. This is the start area. It serves as a little bit of a hub. There's some folks over here on a campfire. They serve as shopkeepers and story and whatnot. Because this is a fresh start, I only have 40 gold, which is probably not a lot, not enough to buy anything, but I can buy an arrow, 2 arrows. So sweet. Now all I need to do is find a bow, and I can actually use them. Let's go into the dungeon. Let me see. Oh, I got some armor off the bat. Is it good? It is better than my current armor, so I'll switch it out. Let me see. Secret door, not so secret. Okay, got a bat. There we go. Ooh, a paralyzed wand. That's nice. Let me organize the inventory a little bit. There we go. Again, it is procedurally generated, so it is different every time you play. Level layout, monster layout, loot drops, all that good stuff. Kind of what you would expect. I'm just kind of scrounging for items right now, and it looks like right now the RNG is kind of being mean to me. I think I can just run over this. Yeah, there we go. Oh, what was that? So, that's a teleport trap, and somebody accidentally just teleported through it, so let me just jump over that one too. Interesting. Oh. Speed. Okay, man. Ooh, there we go. So typically crates don't drop a lot of stuff. Not bad. I think it's like something around like a 12 or 25% chance to drop, or even lower, maybe a 10% chance. But now that I have this mace, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my dagger around in case I need to like bash stuff down, but I'm going to use my mace as my primary weapon so I can okay, let's wait for this guy to knock the door down, and let's bum rush him when he does. So I'm gonna come on. There we go. I'm gonna paralyze him, and then I'm gonna rush him with my mace. There we go. They can be pretty lethal. They do a pretty they have a pretty wide range to what the damage they can actually do is. So you have to be kind of careful around the mages. I think they can do anywhere between like 4 to 20 points of damage, which with 9 health, that's a lot. Yeah, and I guess to Kripri's point, like yeah, I typically use wands the same kind of way too, where I use them in conjunction with melee stuff. There we go. Maybe this is a good usage of my fireball wand. Just soften them both up a little bit. All right, this is the level down. How about health? Why not? Ooh, I got a bow. So let's kind of look at this stuff. So let's put the paralyzed one down here. Put the bow up here. There we go. Let's switch over to the bow since I just picked it up. The notes kind of contain little story fragments. There's little different story arcs you can pick up that they pull from if you're into story. I guess we're not. Oh crap! There we go. Let me recover my arrow. Ooh, what was that? Oh, it's stacked okay. Looked like it had a weird name to it though. Get Fighter's Iron. Ooh, this is a good spike. This is a +1 attack mace. So let me just swap these two out. And actually, let me keep this one, but get rid of my dagger. And grab this potion and get rid of my dagger, because I don't need that anymore. Let's go to my bow. Okay, map. Maybe behind me is the way? I don't know. We'll see. I'll play one more level, then I'll get back to working on my sci-fi stuff. Just so folks have an idea of what Delver is about. Yep, I did. Nice. Get stack. So that is a issue. It's probably an issue with my localization work. I need to take a look at that. The thing is they are stacking. It's just the name is off. And that arrow broke. Let me switch to. Oh, nope. There we go. Recover that one. That one's broken. Recover that arrow. And this is a dead end. Sweet. Wait. Oh, here's a path here. So some of these rooms are hand built, and that's what you can do with the editor. Is you can make rooms for the dungeon. But some of the rooms are actually built by the computer, so that's why you get these crazy rooms sometimes. And with the dungeon sections, you can define the amount of hand-built versus generated rooms. You can also select what type of generator you want to use. Alright, I grabbed a shield. It is a -1 speed, +3 attack, which I think will be okay, since I took a point in speed, it should kind of balance me. Oh, yeah. Armor does slow you down, but it does provide defense. Cool. And let's get rid of this guy. There we go. Nice. Okay, so that was a little bit of Delver for folks who don't know what that's all about. Let me look at chat. So it looks like, yep, FC Ballhog uses libgdex as well. How did I draw the pixel art in Blender? So I use either Photoshop or Blender. I'm doing it right now for this sci-fi stuff here, is I'm doing pixel art in Blender. Kirby says, in this one game I found 2 unstackable arrows and I felt they were indestructible too. So I think they shouldn't be indestructible. Every arrow has a chance of breaking when you actually use it. Buck78 says, now that you mention it, do you think about adding jump in the game? We've thought about it, but we've decided against it. Again, it's because for the majority of the game's lifetime, there was no jump, and we've designed all the content around not being able to jump. And I don't think it really adds much. I design everything such that you don't need to jump. And also, it's kind of a weird thing, but as the guy who's in charge of all the visuals and how the game looks, I'm also really fortunate that because the game is procedural, it's very YouTubeable. But I worry that if we were to add jumping, people would just bunny hop throughout the entire level. And I kind of want to control when people happen across a YouTube video of Delver. I want it to be beautiful and I want it to look like a really cool experience. And so that's also another reason. But yeah, the engine can certainly do it. Yep, so I do all the art. All the 2D, 3D, level design, all that good stuff is me. Chad helped out with some level design. Chad does all the lion's share of the programming, and Chad does a lot of the design work. So there are a number of methods of how you can avoid traps that don't involve jumping. So the barn text says the text in the notes is a bit big, at least in full screen, a bit awkward to read. So Plaxa says that they actually like the lack of vertical motion, makes the game a little bit more claustrophobic expansive. Yeah, again, these are all intentional decisions that we have made. Yep. So we have ramps and ladders. So if you are in, and you also can use movers to like launch people up if you want to. There's a number of things you can do to um, promote verticality. And to be honest, a lot of Delver is trying to imply verticality without actually having it. Because if you let's fire up the editor and look at our sci-fi room. Nope. Um, actually, let me actually put that back in. So move here. File open. Nope. Yeah. So if you notice just the way our levels are constructed, it is a 2D grid that is either solid or hollow, and we don't really support room over room. Um, there are hacky ways of doing it, but for the most part, it is just a 2D surface. So a lot of times I use just terrain height to imply like verticality. And it actually, in practice, doesn't take a lot. Like there's a temptation to, file new, like, um, so let's just create a basic room. And I think, um, like people seem to think like if you want verticality, you have to really go crazy with it and just pull this floor like way up, right? Um, so let me grab this floor here and then pull it way high. And like the Delver engine can do even crazier stuff. So let me just go like full on like extreme example. Like, oh, there's definitely a good example of verticality, right? Like it's super vertical, but let me throw some lights into. Quick marker torch. Not only does it make it hard to edit, like when you get crazy like height differentials like this. Torch, torch, torch. Okay. But like I don't know, like it. I guess if you used it really rarely, it could be cool. But in honesty, it's just so much verticality. And if you have like a lot of times, I find if you have to just make the player look up a little bit, that's usually plenty of verticality. So like I can get away with stuff that's just like this tall, and it still feels like you have like vertical play space because you do have to look up. Like as soon as the player has to start looking up, I think that's enough. Like if it was just like just a small amount, it probably wouldn't feel like this amount probably wouldn't feel super vertical because like you can kind of look straight ahead and see it. And again, it's just kind of playing within the limitations of our engine. Um, so Kirby says that 2 stacks of arrows can stack. Yep. Let me see. Blah 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 blah. No jumps, no leaps. Yeah. Another thing too is we do offer the rebinding of controls. I think it really depends where you come from. Like if you come from like a RPG perspective, like I for inventory and M for map makes sense. But if you come from an FPS perspective, like tab makes way more sense. Again, like the FOV2, like that's something I've kind of gone round and round with as well. Like um, just from like a visual control standpoint, I think it looks like if you crank the FOV too high, I think it looks bad. I don't think it really helps you out that much. Um, yeah, Kirby's right. The poison traps do need a little tweaking just because the radius is a little bit wide right now. Plaxa says I did with my first 3 game. You can always ignore these Z collisions. Yep. Um, Okay, cool. So let's go back to making 3D models. Just kind of having chill pixel time. But thank you for the questions, folks. Those are all good questions. I appreciate your input. Okay, I'm just going back to object mode to unhide the I put my texture sheet behind there so I can color pick from it. Because I think I like how this one over here has this little exclamation point. So maybe I'll put some kind of maybe some of this red text here to kind of indicate something. Um, I don't know what, but I'll just start throwing down colors and see what I come up with. Ba, 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 ba. Did I not grab the correct color? I did. Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. So object mode, Alt A, Shift H. Yeah, let's undo that. Let's go back to texture paint, object mode. Let's grab this object, then go back to texture paint. Nope, not weight paint, texture paint. There we go. Again, I'm not super sure where this is going. I'm just kind of right now just playing around with just throwing down some of this red color and seeing where it gets us. Okay, actually, let me just to help get Y2. Try to pull this a little bit closer so it's easier for me to pick from. There we go. I think I pushed it too far back into the background. Okay, maybe real carefully grab that light red color. Then this dark red. Maybe make my brush a little bit smaller so it's easier to work with. Again, just playing around here, trying to find interesting things to make. Let me see. Say, Vartex says, in texture paint mode, how do you make the drawing pixels as big as yours? Um, so for me, it's just having it's the size of the texture sheet I'm using. It's a 64 by 64 pixel texture that I've just UV mapped onto this model. So it's just the size of the geometry, size of the UV space versus the size of the texture space is determines how big your pixels are. Um, so Delver really can't do animated textures, but I definitely want to do, so you're definitely thinking along the right lines. I do want to do these cool computer terminals, and I want to design them similar to how the greebles work. Uh, but what I'm going to have to do to make it work within the engine as it is they're going to be two separate models. I'm going to have the frame of the monitor, and then the actual text of the monitor, and the text of the monitor will be a separate model that's marked as Fulbright, so it looks correct. But yeah, no, I definitely like the way that you are thinking. But they'll probably be a separate series of uh, a separate series of greebles. is this? I don't know. Let me see. So Vartex says most of the hidden rooms are easy to locate due to the map. You should add puzzle rooms to make it feel like you really earned the loot. Yeah, I mean, procedural puzzles are they're a tough thing to do correctly. Right now, a lot of our secrets are just like they were made by hand by me, so they're always the same every time you play. So the problem is after you figure out where they are once, the secret's kind of up, and yeah. Well, that's kind of cool. Let's do that. Maybe there we go. Whatever the heck that is, as long as it looks quasi interesting. Yeah, I guess a fire axe would make sense, kind of in a sci-fi environment, right? Like I don't know, like what kind of like in the future where you have like would the fire axe be something like the jaws of life where you can rip open metal spots, or like what would that actually look like, you know? Um, well, there's certainly ways to do that with the prefab feature. Like if you look at how I've done the 4x4 prefab rooms in the temple area, I think that would be probably the best way to do that. Um, okay, that's cool. And this can also live on its own too, which is nice. Does this actually work with this guy or no? Kinda. Again, just trying to think through like the possible uses of this. Okay, just kind of just neatly set them over there. So that can also, so that's a light, but also you can throw that in front of there to make it something else. And get it with multiple textures for this guy. This could be, try to add more interest that way. And maybe one more shape that we have. I guess I can make it a little bit bigger and maybe a little bit deeper. I don't know. Let's just play around and see what kind of room we have to work with. Um, so it's going to have to be that tall, but maybe I can just widen it out to use up the rest of the space. Okay, something like that. And I have how much pixels here? Get x4, get x8, 8. So I can move it 4 along the x 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. Again, it's not super tight usage of the texture space, but that's okay, I suppose. So Plaxis is suggesting make a cable junction box where fuses and cables running the top and bottom stretch. It could be a nice fill of vertical space where everything else is a little bit more squared. Yeah, so that's kind of what I was trying to do with the file open mods. With all these kind of pipes and conduits here, was trying to break up some of the squareness, where you have these kind of cool little, I don't know, things kind of cutting through the level. So where the rest of the level is nice and square, these are kind of at like 45 or angles, and the textures themselves have angles in them. Just trying to think of ways to add contrast. Okay. Uh-oh, why did this guy get all goofed up? Oh, did I, oh man. Oh man. So did I not do this correctly? Get, oh, weird. Okay, yeah. So L separate selection. I guess I duplicated it in edit mode. So let me fix this real quick. So this is get x minus 8, get y32. There we go. And then on this one, let's tab, go to edge mode, select the back to edge, shift S, cursor selected, and put the origin to the 3D cursor, so that way it will line up nicely in the engine. Okay, and that should be okay. And let me see. Let me just start throwing down some color or some pixels here, just to get an idea of color. So texture paint mode. Actually, I think it's a fast way. What I can do, let's duplicate this brush, and we'll call this a pixel fill brush. And then I take down here under brush, I can say fill, and then I can just select that and then fill that. Then I can go back to my pixel brush. I think you actually go here, go to edit mode, select the bottom face, go back to texture paint, turn on masking, grab my fill brush, and then grab this bottom color and then fill. There we go. There we go. Turn off masking. Let's get back to making a texture. It might, real quick, it might be handy to, real quick, just turn on wires, just so I can see where the edges of this darn thing are. Sometimes I'm just kind of guessing. Let's turn on our, make this line mode again. And then real quick, just try to lock in some of these lines. Cool. Now I can go back to space mode. And if you find yourself, changing modes of the brush often, maybe that's a sign that you go ahead and just create a new brush preset. I only find I typically use line only at the start of these, this particular style. There we go. So that's the basics. What does it look like? I'm just trying to plan ahead a little bit. Like, what does it look like when I start snapping this in front of this? I mean, it should be similar to the other one where it will fit. There's actually a number of positions it could fit kind of nicely in. Can I do 2 by 2? I can. There's just not a lot of breathing room. Okay, let's just put him back. So let's just kind of keep that in mind. Try to keep a nice little boundary. So in case we do want to have, so again, to add more variety, we probably can snap a one of those small greebles on the front of there. Okay, again, let's Put our little bolts in place. Hey, Chris. Thanks for stopping by the stream. How are things in the future? Chris is from New Zealand, so it's already tomorrow for him. So Vartex, I think scratch marks would be cool, but I think we can use decals. I think that'd be a more interesting way to do it. So for those of you who don't know, what you can do in Delver is you can right-click and place you can place a entity basic, and you can do a projected decal, which does what you think it will do. So and then you can select the texture, and let's say I want sprite, and I could project like this. I can project this scorch mark on the wall, which is a pretty cheap way of doing it without having to make a new texture. And the cool thing too is I can, like I can like Alt, and I can kind of like I can play around with like making lots of these, And I should be able to rotate this thing too. So rotate about the X. Yeah. And I could even play around with like scale, I think. Let me check that. Don't quote me. 1.5. 2 doesn't seem to do anything. We play around some of this stuff. Start in. So 2. There we go. The decal width and height is the thing that we want to play with. So maybe 1.25. You know, like I would say, don't go too far. Like just be mindful of your texel ratios. And I think these ought to project onto meshes as well. So if I add an entity misc mesh, let's just add something that's squarish. The minecart is squarish. These, I think it should. Let me see. Okay, no, it looks like it only projects onto level geo. But still, it is a useful technique for creating like little kind of vignettes. And you can also do is you can group these together, and you can have the generator drop them down. So what you could do is like these could be placed on different floor tiles at different angles, and they can like kind of create these really interesting just little things that kind of have happened in the world before you got there, which I think is an interesting way to add some detail. Again, the tools have evolved along with, so Plaxis is complementing us on our tools, and they have evolved along with the game, which is why after this March update, I'm going to be redoing the dungeon area, is because the dungeon area was the first area we built, and it's like over the course of the past 4 years, we've gotten a lot better at building areas, and also we have more tools. So sometimes the dungeons look a little like the quality bar isn't quite where we'd like it. Oh yeah. So let me see. Chris was saying he thought it did project. So let's uh, entity basic misc mesh headstone. You thought he saw it when I played. Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm a dummy. Yeah, so it does work. So yeah. Sorry guys and gals. If you rotate it, it still should. Yep. Sweet. So it does what you expect. I'm just silly. Oh, okay. So what is this one going to be? I don't know. Vartex says 45 megabytes, question mark. Okay. So I think what I want to do is I want to, in texture paint mode, let's go to line, and then let's add these little lines here. Maybe these will be, I don't know, just seeing what I can do. And also this makes a nice little frame um, for this little fella to snap into. But I don't have to do that per se, you know, like I can do other things. What kind of panel is this? That's a good question. And maybe I shouldn't overthink it. Maybe just make it a simple little panel. Um, Actually, let me try just a little bit of planning. Let me go here. Kind of pop that in there. And then when I go up, if I just throw down a line where this happens to be, maybe it'll look more interesting. So texture paint. Something like that. And then conversely, here. So this can work in either spot. And if in the center, it will cover them up. Cool. But yeah, otherwise it looks like it's meant to be there. And then we can just kind of reposition this guy back over here in his little place where he's supposed to live. Cool. So now, what can we do with this? Chris says, I love the models are aligned with the pixel art like that. Reminds me of Fez. Yeah, like the sci-fi area certainly has a slightly different style than my usual style in regards to pixel art, which I think is cool. It's nice for me to, you know, I'm trying to take advantage of this opportunity to do some things that I normally don't get a chance to do when working on Delver. So hopefully folks are bearing with me. Hopefully it's still interesting, and hopefully it's still a good resource for learning how to do mods for Delver. Because this also has been a really valuable exercise in finding things that will trip people up when making content for Delver. Because as you may have expected, doing these mods has found things that don't work as smoothly as we would like. And again, the folks who do use our tools, your feedback is very valuable, and we appreciate all the thought you guys put into that. Probably, I want to put something dark in the middle to make it look interesting. Maybe I like just a little bit of contrast just to break things up a bit. I could do like a dark grate like that, I suppose. Let's do it. So, also out of curiosity, does my fill brush work the way I think it does or not? It does not. Okay, so that is something to keep in mind when working in Blender. It is not like the nice paint bucket tool like in other image editors. It is just a fill the entire texture of this geo with that color. which I mean it has. I'm sure it has its uses, but not quite what I was hoping for. Okay, and then let's do something like. I think I ended up. Let me see. I might have to play around with the spacing on these. Yeah. Maybe even just a little bit more variety. Maybe on the one of these here. I'll just do something like this. There we go. And maybe put a little thing there. Don't know why. Just a little bit of variety. Cool. So I think this is a good. Let me save this real quick. Working on this Blender file and not saving it makes me nervous. So we have these greebles, which I think are cool. Um, I'm gonna take a quick little break, and I'll be right back. We'll get these greebles in game. We'll start playing around with them and seeing some of the variety that the Delver engine can help us achieve. So I'll be back at, say, 14:28. So about an hour since the last break. Hopefully you folks don't mind me taking breaks every now and again. And I'm back. Woo! Yeah, so Kirby gave an excellent reminder. You want to save the images. So, like, I saved the Blender file itself, but if you notice over here, let me scroll over. It says the image has a little star next to it, which means this has not been saved. So if I hit Save Image, that should save it out. And just to double check, let's open that up in Photoshop. There we go. Yep, so Kirby is reminding, like, so Blender has two ways of working with images. One is external images, in which you have to save them separate, and the other is packed images, and I think you might have to save those separately as well, which is kind of an interesting way of doing it. So just confirming here in Photoshop that we have indeed saved our greebles. And let's go ahead and export these out of let's export these out of Blender. Plaxis says, how to add a skybox when you're dealing with subtractive modeling editor. So you can't add a skybox in the editor. When you define a dungeon section, so if you were to look at the start area outdoor, if you look at the info dot or start camp, excuse me, the start camp section has it has a skybox defined for it, and you will only see it when you actually launch the game. That is one of the drawbacks is the editor. You can't see the fog and you can't see the skybox unless you are in the actual game proper. But yeah, if you look at how we do it for the start camp, that is the way to do skyboxes. Okay, so let's go back here and let's real quick. What I want to do is another little thing about exporting OBJs. Make sure that you hit Alt-G to recenter this geometry back to the middle of the scene. Otherwise, Blender will preserve. Basically, I think Blender will treat the zero, or Delver will treat the 0, 0 chord as the center. So make sure your object is relative to the origin of the scene where you want it to be. And so File, Export, OBJ. Let's call this greeble 0 because I think I changed the UV chords on it. So let's re-export that. Again, selection only. You can untick right materials and make sure you have triangulate faces selected and hit export. And then here I'll hit Alt-G, which will move it back to the center of the scene. And then same thing here, File, Export, wavefront OBJ, and this will be greeble_1. Export, and then I can just hit Control Z to pop them back in place. Same here, Alt-G moves it back to the center. File, Export OBJ, and this is greeble_2. Export OBJ, Control Z, and then one last time. And this is greeble3. Export, Control Z. So Chris is asking, how long am I going today? Am I going until 3? I think so. I think the plan. So currently, my wife, she had to run my son to a doctor's appointment. He has a little, looks like congestion and maybe an ear issue. So she took him to the doctor, and then after that, they were going to go grab some groceries. And we were planning on doing a 2 to 3 hour stream today. So I think another 30 minutes is what I will promise. And anything beyond that is just gravy. Okay, so the question is, did I extract the meshes, or the meshes? Okay, so I put them, advanced meshes example. So I need to grab my greeble pieces and copy them here. Yep. And let's also verify that our texture is the correct one. Example, greebles looks correct. Okay, so now let's go over to our editor and let's get these prefabs going. Yeah, no, my son Malcolm, he seems to be doing okay. Like he's not fussy and he doesn't seem to be in any pain. He's not running a fever. It's just occasionally he will he'll grab at his ear, which is kind of one of those things you have to kind of just watch out for. Because he has a runny nose, we're thinking it's just congestion. There might not be a lot we can do about it, but we talked to a nurse at our doctor's office, and they suggested just bringing him in, just to check him out. Okay, so let's go ahead and start defining these things. So let's right-click Entity, Basic, or Entity, Example Meshes, Railing. And I'm only doing that just because it has the path already in here for the most part. So I can just say this needs to be example, and this needs to be greeble _0. And then the texture needs to be greebles. Sweet. And let's go ahead and let's get this collision set up. Actually, the scale needs to be halved. Let's do that off the bat, and then let's get this collision set up correctly. Trying to think that's correct, and this was something like 4375. So if I look at the collision on that, and actually with greebles this small, you might not need to add a collision box to it, but what the heck, right? So then now I can hit Y and drag out a copy, and then I'll just change this mesh file to greeble1. Then we'll adjust the since they use the same texture file, it makes that easy. I just need to adjust some of the collision. So maybe that's two. So this is let me see. It's 12 over 16 over 2. Is that right? 375. Does that sound right? No. 1875. There we are. And then I think this should be 375 tall. There we go. Again, I'm just doing the pixel math to see, just to get nice, accurate collision boxes. And again, these could be totally ballparked too. Some of the older stuff is. Okay, this is smaller. This is 16 by 16. So I think that should just be 125. 125. 0625. There we go. Oh yeah, this is 0.25. Again, it's important to keep in mind. So the X and the Y are from the center bottom, and then the Z is also from the center bottom. So the Z tends to be double. So like here in the X and the Z, they're the same size, but they're double just because of where it assumes the anti or the AABB is being created from. So just something to keep in mind. And there we go. And actually, I think this one might be, the bounding box might be a little bit closer to this one, so we'll start with this greeble. Greeble 3.obj. Yeah, let's pull it up a little bit too. Oh, it's fine. Okay, so it's just wider. So that's the Z. This is the width is 32. Is that right? Yeah, width is 32. There we go, 0.25. Cool, so these are our greebles, and they have collision volumes, and then I think they look okay, right? I think they fit in here nicely. We're using the same palette. They're really just very basic stuff. It's just you know, cubes. So let's start getting prefabs going. So to do that, we need to start defining these as entities so that the prefabs can then use them. So for example, if I were to right-click, add a prefab from example meshes and railing, you look at the properties over here on the object, and it's actually not a lot. It asks what category is it from, so example meshes, and then the name of the prefab. So railing. If we change it to railing corner, it would pull in the railing corner prefab. But so this would be something as simple as, it would just be example meshes, and then it would be a greeble 0 or whatever we call it, which is probably what we'll call it, but there we go. So now you can right click and say to JSON, and it will pop open a little dialog. And if you notice, actually I went through and I've fixed it So now the editor will emit good JSON. So I can just go to my JSON beautifier. Sweet. And I can paste that in here. Four space tab is what I want. Hit process. It's valid JSON. I can copy that to my clipboard because now it's beautiful looking. And then I can go into my project. Not that one. Project. Actually, file, open folder. I'm just going to work directly out of the one in our Delver working directory, and I'll copy that back out to its own repo. So data, entities, and this is example meshes. That's, I guess it's now that it has more than meshes. It's not such a great name, but that's okay, I guess. So what we need to do is we need to add a new entry. Okay. This will be greeble 0. And you see this has all this sweet stuff, our collision, our model. So I'll save that. And I'll kind of do that for all of these. So the next one, to JSON, copy, and then go to my validator. And then process. And then here, I put a comma, and then greeble 1, paste. Sweet. Right click to JSON. This should be greeble 2. Yep. Let me go ahead and close these little windows too. I guess they tend to stick around. Actually, I don't need it here. What I'll do is I'll just go ahead and I will just paste this in. So, comma, greeble 2, paste, comma, greeble 3, to JSON, copy, paste. Let's select it all, and let's just drop that into the validator. Just do it all at once. Process. Oh, no, some of the old stuff is not compliant. Interesting. Yikes. Let me fix that up real quick. Again, some of the the old way of again, the old editor used to emit a type of JSON that was specific to libgdx, which is, I guess, okay. I mean, I guess you save. It's probably a smaller file size because all these quotes you don't need to have. But the problem is you can't use these nice free online tools to help you troubleshoot issues with your JSON, which means that sometimes when you get errors, like it's really hard to track down. So I think this will make modders' lives easier. And hopefully, if you're a modder, you agree. Yeah. I guess I don't have to be super clean about this because it will fix the JSON for me anyways. I know with the character story pack example, I have gone through and done this because I'm trying to make these example mod repo like as as good of as best practices as I can. Let me see. While I'm doing this, I'll see what chat's saying. So chat is quiet. That's all right. And again, hopefully this is interesting to you folks. If you'd rather see me work on something else, please let me know. I try to be, um, I try to put out information that is useful to the community. But I guess also I'm trying to push towards getting um, this this one example is spiraling out of control, and I'm trying to get it wrapped up. I guess that's one of the things. Like when you're working in software, you have to be careful about like maybe clearly defining tasks, because if they're not clearly defined, they can take up um, like an indeterminate amount of time, which makes it like really hard to plan and estimate. Uh, which I have been trying to do more of for the Delver project, is by creating tasks and milestones, so we can try to do a little bit better project planning. Wow, there are a lot of these. Um, yeah, no, definitely the chat kind of comes and goes. Um, wow, this x is so close to 0, but not 0. And that probably is just an issue with floats. For those of you who are familiar with programming and the wonderful uh, all the wonderful stuff you get with the float data type. So it says if your tiles are 64 by, how tall are they? So typically in Delver, one Delver unit, so one tile in a room is one Delver unit by one Delver unit, and they are typically 32 by 32 pixels tall. For some odd reason, inexplicably, in this one example, I'm making my meshes have twice the detail of the world, which normally I wouldn't do, but crap, still missed some. Um, like I started a few assets that way, and I'm just kind of lived with it. I think as long as you are consistent, I think you're okay. Even Delver itself isn't super strict. Oh man, it's going to complain about all kinds of crazy stuff. Trailing commas. Man. I just missed this whole thing here. Wow. Seriously, let me just. Uh, okay, let's just find all the commas. Let's put a return character after them. Let's find all the colons. Okay, let's put a quote. Quote. Let's go find, replace. Let's find all the double quotes, replace them with single quotes, replace all. Let's see if that fixes my quote issues. Man, does that make things worse? That made things worse. Yeah, having spaces in your the prefab names is, oh, it can be problematic sometimes. Should be greeble 3. Trailing comma. Where is that? Oh, floor lamp. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the floor lamp prefab. This should just be one big ol' string. Oh, come on. So above floor lamp there is a trailing comma. There we go. Finally. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful, well-formed JSON. So now if I close this and then run it, I should have all sorts of nice little prefabs that are at least, I can go right-click, entity, are they broken? Yep. They are broken even though they are well-formed JSON. So what have I done? Um, Man. So let me close that out. Try to figure out. So it's good JSON, but it's not good for Delver. Try to figure out what I screwed up. So if I chop out my greebles and try running it, does that fix it? Nope. Okay, Control Z. Let me try chopping out everything with the very first thing. Okay, so is this one okay? Because it's probably something stupid. It's probably something really small that I goofed up on. So that one actually works okay. Example meshes are down there. So the greebles aren't the problem. I'm assuming, let's try chopping out the floor lamps. Let's see if that's the problem. Looks like the floor lamps are the problem. Okay. Let's take a look at what I'm doing with floor lamps. So I really only have, there's three things in the floor lamp. There is the floor lamp off, on, and a prefab that picks from them. So if I, let's say I cut that. Okay, it's one of the floor lamps. Disconnect that. So so it's the flickering floor lamp. What is its problem? Is it this light here? Sorry, I'm just trying to troubleshoot why. Yeah, that's that the light is the problem. Is it the light type that's giving the serializer issues? No. Oh, so uh-oh. Steam Direct, interesting. Yeah. So Steam Direct versus Greenlight. Like I've had an interesting experience with Greenlight, and I'm curious to see how Steam Direct will change things. Um, because Chris, your game was greenlit, right? Out of curiosity, so if I let me let me add one of these dynamic lights and see what is different about uh, what's different about it because it's complaining about my dynamic light base lights dynamic. If I were to right click, it's a flickering on or flickering off. I think one of those two. Flickering doesn't matter. To JSON. What does it give me? Let me just try setting this stuff through the editor and then serializing it and see what I get. Oh, Joshua, I goofed up that property. Yeah. Oh man, that was a dumb mistake. Yeah, I'm also curious because once you have a product on Steam, you have a Valve account manager, and I'm not sure if we were to say wanted to release a second product, would we just go directly through our account manager, or would we have to go through that whole new process? I'm not sure. So entity example mesh is greeble 0. There we go. Okay, so these work good. And what we can do if we really wanted to is we can right click, place prefab, example meshes greeble 0. And if we click here under the name, if we copy this, and we can do a comma separated value of these. So what I've done now is whenever you hit play, you should get a new greeble. Yay! Um, which is cool because you can do things like you can just now you can just cover the walls with these and you get just different things, right? So that's a nice little feature to have. Um, but I want to do a few things here. I want to make the light create a light, and I want this big wide one to have the larger ones to have a chance to have that smaller one in the front. Okay, so this is, oh, yep. I think it's greeble 1. So example meshes greeble 1. Yep. So what I want to do is to have a light that will occasionally spawn with the darn thing. Um, so what I can do now is start like creating these nested prefabs, if that makes sense. So we have greeble 0. Greeble 1. So let's Control C, and then let's make a copy of that. And this is going to be greeble 1 A, I guess, for lack of a better style. And this will be a, yeah, let's go up here to greeble 1. Let's copy this and paste it. So we have greeble 1 Bravo, and we have greeble 1 Alpha. And these will be the two variants. And this one will just be a group. So I want to create a group. So the greeble 1 Bravo will be the group version. And it is just a list of entities. And the first entity will be the model. And the second entity will be a dynamic light, and I will just rip the dynamic light out of here. So I get the same light color and all that good stuff. It might even be worthwhile to make a prefab of the light so I can just kind of keep reusing that light. So this is a dynamic light. That's greeble 1B. And then what I want to do is create a prefab. So if you look at prefabs here, this floor lamp prefab kind of does what I want it to do. So now we go down to here, paste that. This will be greeble 1, and it pulls from greeble 1 Alpha and greeble 1 Bravo. So when you place this prefab, you get either of those, which I think is cool. So let's that should be all right. Let's run the editor and see what we get. Okay, it failed. So let's real quick. Let's just copy all this and run it through our validator again, just to make sure to find out where I goofed up. Process. Closing comma. So let me. I think it was this group here. I don't think that needs to be there. Oh, our list of entities needs to have a closing square bracket, because that's important. So something like that. Cool. Copy and paste. Yeah, because this entity's property is a list of entities. Make sure, yep, no errors. Open, mods, levels, load. And then now if I place prefab, example meshes, greeble 0, or greeble 1. When I hit play, sometimes it should be lit, sometimes it won't be lit. There we go. Now there's a light there. But I don't want it to be dynamic light. I want it to be just an ambient light. So yeah. Let me try fixing that real quick. So it should be ambient light. And there's no light type. Let me try that. And of course I goofed up the JSON. Let me see. Okay. So it wasn't that easy. So let me run delve editor, delve edit, and let me just grab the light. File open mods. And yeah, that the mod content's broken, but this ambient light is not. So let me just to.json this. Let me grab its properties and close that out, and then go into here and just replace this wholesale with that. Cool. Save. Run. Yep, that worked. So now, by placing the prefab, give us some more room here. Our poor little menu's running out of spots. So greeble 1, again, it will choose between a lit and unlit version. And I should also probably make a second texture that is unlit, so it agrees with some of these unlit stuff. Greeble is a term that I think artists know. Technically, I think the first use case of that was Star Wars, in which case they pasted little bits all over the models to make it look more complex. So these are just little bits that we just throw on the walls to add visual interest. Now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder if it would actually be okay if they were just normal size. So let me try scaling them up. So greeble 1 alpha. So if it was just scale 1, would that look all right? Yeah, that might look okay. Again, maybe I'll go through and change the size of these so they, I don't know. I can go either way on it. I just want them to agree. But cool. Yeah. Yeah, maybe making them match up better might be nice, and that way it gives it a little bit more variety in the large scale. I don't want to get down to too small details too quickly. Okay, I think I'm hitting just around 3 hours now, which is probably time for me to call it a stream. So I want to thank everybody who has purchased Delver and supported me financially. I really, really appreciate that. Also, thank you to everyone who watches my streams and gives me good feedback and supports me that way. That is also extremely valuable. This has been a bonus stream. These kind of happen as I have time. So if you are curious in catching bonus streams, you can always follow me on Twitter at Joshua Skelly, and follow me here on Twitch. You'll get little notifications as when I go live. Um, Otherwise, my regularly scheduled stream will be tomorrow at noon. What else? So yeah, I'll be doing more of this work tomorrow. If you're also interested, I have a Facebook page. If Facebook is your thing, cool. I'll paste the link down here in chat. It's facebook.com/DelverGameOfficial. Yeah, I think Chris is agreeing with me that I think the normal size or the textile ratio 1-to-1 is better. So I'll probably go through off stream and fix those and get the greebling even more greebly. I think I've done the self promotion stuff. Again, thank you, and I will see you guys in under 24 hours. So have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.